The Joker. The clown prince of crime, the harlequin of hate, Batman's arch-nemesis, DC Comics' most recognizable villain, and arguably the most iconic antagonist in all of fiction. Naturally, a character of such pedigree has been adapted into countless formats, from movies to cartoons to video games, with some incarnations becoming icons in their own right, for better or for worse. But today, I want to discuss 3 versions of the Joker found within the fanworks of the channel Batfeed: Gotham 1919 to 1939, Gotham 1889, and the Arkham Tapes. We'll examine the differences and similarities between them, and how they mimic and deviate from other incarnations of the iconic clown. Before we get started, it should go without saying, but this video will contain major spoilers for all of these series.
I thought my jokes were bad.
If you haven't seen them, do so, then return to this video. And it would be dishonorable of me to not give a massive thank you to both Batfeed for making these incredible series, and Giant Panda King, who wrote the book that 1919 is based on. I love your work, and I look forward to seeing what you do next. And so we begin with 1919 Joker. Now, of these 3 Jokers, I feel 1919 is the most traditional take on the character. He first appeared in-universe in 1923, where he went on a killing spree that baffled the GCPD due to the random nature of the killings. He was caught with the aid of Batman, and the newspapers had a field day with him during his trial, proclaiming him the clown prince of crime and Gotham's first costumed gangster. Indeed, the Joker is Gotham's first costumed criminal in 1919, with many of Batman's other rogues like the Riddler, Scarecrow, Two-Face, and countless others making their debuts after him. During his trial, the Joker's defense psychiatrist argued he suffered from schizophrenia and possibly bipolar disorder, which landed him in Arkham Asylum. However, that diagnosis was later proven false, and it's even debatable as to whether Joker was actually insane. This is a question that's often asked about the Joker, both in general discussion and in the comics. Is the clown actually insane, or is he just an evil man? Now, I'm not a psychologist by any stretch, but in the case of 1919 Joker, I'd argue a lot of his insanity is false and performative. He's described as making a game out of what new diagnosis he could gain with each session, and is shown to be incredibly manipulative and untrustworthy, so I get the sense that much of his madness is fabricated. A detail I find particularly interesting is that the Joker's claims of mental illness, coupled with his actions, furthered the stigma that the mentally ill were inherently violent, which had the sad knock-on effect of making Gotham more apathetic towards the plight of the insane, which allowed for multiple abuses of power to occur at Arkham Asylum. This is an overt bit of meta-commentary on how the mentally ill are frequently demonized in fiction, with Batman being a prominent target as a large chunk of his rogues gallery is insane. I'm sure you've seen memes like this over the past few years. And this isn't the only step 1919 takes to move away from that idea. Villains that would usually be sent to Arkham, like Riddler, Killer Croc, or Clayface, are instead sent to Blackgate, and the true evil at Arkham isn't the patients, it's the staff. The Arkham administration under Hugo Strange is extremely corrupt, with Strange conducting horrific experiments on the patients and encouraging staff to do whatever they want with them. An element of this Joker that's consistent with the majority of depictions is the lack of a definitive origin story. The GCPD actually put out a reward for anyone with information as to his identity, and several theories are proposed as to who or what he is. The most popular theory is that he was a soldier in World War I, part of the Red Hood Regiment, which dealt with gas attacks and constantly wore red masks. It's speculated the Joker's appearance was the result of a gas malfunction, which drove him insane. This is of course a historically grounded version of the most famous Joker origin, where he was a criminal known as the Red Hood whose appearance was changed after falling into a vat of chemicals. This origin also plays into a recurring theme throughout Gotham 1919, of the aftermath of World War I. Villains like Two-Face, Professor Pig, and Clock King all fought to defend their country, only to come home as broken, traumatized men, disillusioned with their beliefs, which ultimately leads them to villainy. Other suggested origins are that he was a circus performer driven mad by abuse, a mobster, a petty crook, or even an immortal mythical figure. Put a pin in that last one because we'll be coming back to it. It's also suggested he may have been linked to the Dada and Surrealist movements of the time because of his chaotic nature. Dadaism and Surrealism are art styles that both center around nonsense and irrationality over logic. Sound familiar? On a similar note, one of the inspirations for 1919 Joker was Spanish Surrealist painter Salvador Dali. Dali was known for his eccentric behavior, like arriving to a lecture with a Rolls Royce full of cauliflower, which is definitely something I could see the Joker doing. The series also adapts some of the Joker's most iconic moments, such as the shooting of Barbara Gordon leading to her becoming Oracle, and the murder of Jason Todd in 1928. Although in this continuity, Jason survives the beating, if barely, before being taken away and raised back to health by the League of Assassins. Note the Lazarus Pits are never mentioned in 1919, and it's questioned whether Ra's al Ghul is actually immortal or merely a title passed down from generation to generation. This will be relevant in a moment. All that was left when Batman arrived on the scene was Jason's bloodied Robin costume, so Joker was charged with the murder. These two incidents marked the beginning of a new dark age in Batman's career, as following Jason's death, the Dark Knight became far more brutal and isolated until Tim Drake came along and became the third Robin. This is a direct lift from the storyline It's a Lonely Place of Dying, which acted as a follow-up to A Death in the Family, where Joker kills Jason Todd and then becomes the ambassador of Iran. But that's not important. Following that event, Batman became more vicious and reckless in his crime fighting until Tim Drake deduced Batman's identity and took up the mantle of Robin after helping Batman defeat Two-Face. Back to the League of Assassins, it's possible that Ra's al Ghul himself is among the Joker's victims. One of the biggest events in 1919 is the Shadow War, when the League attempted to either take over or destroy Gotham. The conflict resulted in the deaths of many of Batman's allies and countless civilians. According to an eyewitness, at the end of the war, when Ra's armies had been defeated and the Demon's Head was alone in an alley, the Joker murdered him. He was angry at Ra's for causing so much chaos, presumably because in the Joker's mind, that's his job. After the Shadow War, Ra's never returned to Gotham, and although this act is certainly in character for someone as vain as Joker, it remains unconfirmed due to lack of evidence. Another key aspect of this Joker is his relationship with Arkham Asylum. He was the facility's most infamous occupant, manipulative, cunning, and in and out to the walls on a regular basis. Warden Hugo Strange kept him at a distance from most of his staff, with only himself and a handful of psychiatrists and cleaning staff allowed to be near him, as those who spent too much time with the deranged criminal had a tendency to meet a terrible fate. Speaking of which, Arkham is where the Joker met one Harleen Quinzel. In this timeline, Harley was a custodian at Arkham, forced to work by her abusive father so he could have money to spend on booze. She was initially scared of the Joker like most, but after a year of conversing with him, she fell in love. Naturally, the clown took advantage of this affection and convinced her to help him break out. They first went to Harley's home, where she murdered her father with an axe, then went on a cross-country crime spree as the Joker and Harley Quinn. Eventually, Harley was able to escape the Joker's thrall with the help of her friend and potential lover Poison Ivy, and struck out on her own, but that's a tale worthy of its own video. Joker's story concluded during World War II, when a fire at Arkham resulted in the escape of numerous inmates, who caused chaos and panic across Gotham in an event that would become known as Arkham City. Joker was among the escapees and vanished into thin air. His final words were scratched in blood on the wall of his cell. "All the world's a stage, all men and women merely players." By this point, Batman was retired, and it's believed the Joker saw no point in committing crime without his nemesis. This is an idea we've seen a few times with the character. Stories like The Dark Knight Returns, Going Sane, and the B-Test episode The Man Who Killed Batman show that without Batman, the Joker has no drive to be a criminal and can even retire. As B-Test Joker said himself,
"Without Batman, crime has no punchline."
As stated at the beginning, this is a fairly traditional take on the Joker, especially compared to his peers. But that's not a criticism, because this is still a solid take on the character. I particularly enjoy the historical aspects to his potential origins, being a huge history buff, and the design for him is superb. According to Giant Panda King, this Joker's appearance is a result of a combination of recessive gums and acromegaly. Acromegaly is a condition that results in enlarged body parts like larger hands, feet, jaw, nose, etc. Recessive gums is when the gums recede due to poor dental care, which makes the teeth look larger as their roots exposed. Right out of the gate, 1889 Joker starkly differs from most versions of the character by having a confirmed name and backstory. This incarnation borrows heavily from the Joker seen briefly in Gotham by Gaslight, the Elseworld story that the series is inspired by. In that continuity, the Joker was a serial killer who married and murdered wealthy women for their money, effectively the male equivalent of a Black Widow. When he was caught, he attempted suicide by ingesting the poison he'd used on his victims, strychnine, which causes the facial muscles to spasm into a rictus grin. Miraculously, Joker survived, but his face was frozen in a ghastly grin. Gotham 1889 takes that base concept and fleshes it out. Their Joker is Jerome Henshaw, likely a reference to Jerome Valeska from Gotham, the son of Emily Henshaw and a house servant. The Henshaws were a wealthy family in Gotham and raised Jerome in their mansion, where he was the black sheep of the family, a title that caused Jerome to resent them, which morphed into a belief that he was better than them. According to his mother, Jerome's father fled after his birth, becoming a drunk and a criminal. He tried locating him, but the most he could find were reports of a petty criminal named the Red Hood, who was gunned down by the police. This backstory vaguely resembles the Joker movie, where it's hinted that Arthur Fleck is Thomas Wayne's son. Since his illegitimacy meant he wouldn't get an inheritance, he hatched an alternative scheme to acquire wealth. He charmed wealthy widows into giving him gifts and other valuables, preying on their sympathies for the Henshaw's bastard. Once the relationship had outlived its usefulness, he poisoned them with strychnine. 1889 Joker, at least initially, doesn't seek to cause chaos or challenge Batman. Rather, he's driven by a desire to accumulate wealth, partly for survival, but also to compensate for his insecurities. His step-siblings frequently taunted him about his illegitimacy, and his birth caused quite the scandal, so he compensates by believing himself superior and gathering wealth on his own terms. It's also interesting how at first he actively avoids attention instead of pursuing it, keeping his relationships secret and cutting them off once he's gained all he can without arousing suspicion. He murdered 10 women before being undone by Inspector James Gordon and his own arrogance. Gordon linked all the victims to Jerome and confronted the man at his house. Jerome, confident the police wouldn't catch him, allowed the inspector to question him, which didn't pan out as planned. Desperate, he elected to take the coward's way out by poisoning himself with his own strychnine, again showing an aversion to being in the spotlight. But instead of killing him, it froze his facial muscles in a grotesque grin. He was rushed to the hospital and put on trial for the murders, dubbed the Merry Widower by the Gotham Gazette. Deemed insane, he was sent to Arkham Asylum and placed under the care of Hugo Strange. Hugo took a strong interest in Jerome and conducted private sessions with the man. No one knows for sure what happened, but given Hugo's track record, it's safe to assume he was experimented on by Arkham's corrupt warden, and these experiments would twist Jerome into the Joker. Jerome isn't Strange's only victim. Other villains like Killer Croc, Poison Ivy, Crazy Quilt, and Ten-Eyed Man were all made worse and turned into psychotic killers because of Hugo's experiments. Just like in 1919, Arkham plays a key role in the Joker's story, and its administration is infested with corruption and inhumanity. Jerome would remain at Arkham until he received a new psychiatrist, Dr. Harleen Frances Quinzel. In this timeline, Harley started work at the asylum as a psychiatric assistant, but her acumen for the field caught the attention of Professor Strange, who allowed her to conduct her own sessions with patients. Hugo saw Jerome as a lost cause after years of unpredicted therapy, so he allowed Harley to have a crack at him. Like the majority of incarnations, Jerome puts on a nice guy act for Dr. Quinzel, acting polite, answering questions, and fabricating a sob story about his childhood, although here it's an exaggeration of his actual rotten childhood. But unlike other Jokers, Jerome lets the mask slip before Harley is completely under his thrall. When they start talking about his murders, Jerome describes his victims' suffering in agonizing detail, and refers to them as whores. This unsettles Harley, who has their sessions temporarily put on hold. During the next session, Jerome swings his cell door open, swiftly dispatches the two guards present, and escapes Arkham with Harley as a hostage. Throughout their previous sessions, Jerome had gathered pens and metal scraps to craft a tool that allowed him to pick the cell's lock. Jerome and Harley hid in the abandoned grounds of the Gotham World Fair, which had been severely damaged during the reign of Jack the Ripper. Here, Jerome subjected Harley to both psychological and physical torture. It isn't clarified what he did specifically, but personally I picture something akin to the torture scene in Suicide Squad. 1889 Harley doesn't fall in love with a fake persona, she is broken, twisted, and forced by torture into becoming Joker's lackey. Decades later, psychoanalysts would diagnose her with Stockholm Syndrome. Weeks after escaping, Jerome and a now brainwashed Harley went on a crime spree, described by witnesses as Punch and Judy come to life. Jerome had fashioned himself after the character Punch, whilst Harley was done up in a Harlequin-inspired costume. Punch and Judy are a traditional English puppet show whose origins date back to the 17th century. The show follows the anarchic Mr. Punch and his wife Judy as they engage in surreal slapstick misadventures. A trademark of the performance is Mr. Punch violently beating another character with his stick. His wife, his baby, a policeman, a crocodile, even the devil himself. This has garnered the duo controversy in recent years, with critics accusing the show of glorifying or making light of domestic violence. It's hard not to draw parallels between Joker and Harley, and I can easily imagine Jerome having seen a Punch and Judy show, enjoying it, and using that character as inspiration for his new persona. The chaotic duo were dubbed the Joker and the Harlequin by the press, due to Henshaw's resemblance to the Joker playing card. The police were stumped as the criminals' movements were random and unpredictable, but eventually their spree came to an end when they kidnapped the mayor. Joker sent a note to the police informing them of what they did and where to find them, knowing that Batman would be the first to arrive at the fairgrounds. He'd read about him in the papers and was interested in clashing with the Dark Knight. It's clear by now that Jerome doesn't give a hoot about money or staying under the radar. The Joker is the opposite of Jerome Henshaw as a criminal, loud, attention-seeking, with little to no regard for financial gain. Batman confronted the duo at the fairgrounds, a battle that ended with Joker leaping out a window and abandoning Harley to the authorities. She was sent to Arkham and would remain Joker's simpering henchgirl until she broke free of his control with the help of Poison Ivy. During the fight, Joker proclaimed,
"We're destined to play this game forever, you and I."
This invokes the Dark Knight, where Joker says he thinks Batman and him are destined to duel forever, and shows how far Jerome has changed since his days as the Merry Widower. For now, this is where 1889 Joker's story ends, but I doubt we've seen the last of Jerome Henshaw. 1889 Joker is a substantial deviation from most versions of the character in many aspects. It still takes ideas from other incarnations like Gotham by Gaslight, Jerome Valeska, and Arthur Fleck, but goes in a different direction with them. 1889's Joker is one defined by evolution and the corruption that infects Gotham. He was shunned as inferior by high society, then broken and mangled into a monster by those who were supposed to help him. He went from a materialistic Black Widow killer to a chaotic madman seeking violence and mayhem. But the truth is, Jerome Henshaw was always a monster, leeching off the sympathies of lonely women before disposing of them with no remorse. Perhaps the Joker was always there, deep down. He just needed to be brought out from under the ice. Now, in general, the Arkham Tapes is a completely different beast to its contemporaries, both in style and tone. Where 1919 and 1889 were historical documentaries that tried to ground the Batman mythos in a sense of realism, the Arkham Tapes is an analog horror series in the vein of the Mandela catalog that leans full throttle into the fantastical and the supernatural. Even relatively normal characters, like Riddler and Scarecrow, are given a more eldritch and supernatural touch, and the Joker is no exception. He's the first villain we meet in the Arkham Tapes, and his debut episode perfectly sets the tone for both the character and the series as a whole. Tapes' Joker isn't just an evil clown. He's an inhuman monster that's existed in Gotham for centuries as the Pale Man. This was an idea introduced by Scott Snyder during the New 52, where it was implied that the Joker was an immortal figure. In the Arkham Tapes, the Pale Man is a Gotham urban legend, with reports ranging from colonial times to the early 1900s. His appearances tend to occur during times of great upheaval or tragedy, possibly drawn to such events because of his chaotic nature, or to act as a harbinger of sorts. It's also theorized that the Joker may be a product of science gone wrong, an ancient supernatural evil given physical form through scientific meddling. In this context, the Joker is a cross between humanity's primal fear of the unknown and the unsettling possibilities of scientific advancement. This is a running theme throughout the Arkham Tapes, as the villains are all either tied to some supernatural entity or force, or they're the results of science gone wrong, or in some cases, both. What's pretty certain about this Joker is that he can teleport. There are multiple reports of him vanishing from his cell, only to reappear as if nothing happened. During one of these escapes, Joker was tracked down to Miagani Island by the authorities, a location with a lengthy history of bizarre occurrences and urban legends, including the Pale Man. It's speculated that the island may be a conduit of sorts, or a place of power for the Joker, somewhere he goes in order to recharge his abilities. This recontextualizes his escapes as strategic retreats, and displays that the Joker is a cunning creature and not some mindless monster. His intelligence and manipulative nature is further seen through his interactions with Arkham's doctors. He's described by Harlan Quinzel as hypnotically charming with an intense focus on you, like he's sizing you up. With Dr. Stephen Kellerman, Joker fabricates a tragic backstory to gain sympathy in true Joker fashion, then interrogates him. He criticizes Kellerman for believing his lies, and scoffs when he remarks we're only human, the first indication that this Joker is something otherworldly. Also, fun fact, the Joker's patient number is a reference to the character's first appearance in Batman #1, published on April 25th, 1940. The day after the session, Joker follows Kellerman home, places 3 teddy bears with hidden cameras inside his house, then murders the Doctor in his own bed. This entire event shows how random and sadistic the Joker is. He knocks on the door before entering the house, he taunts Stephen before killing him, and he does it all for seemingly no other reason than his own sick amusement. One of the bears is even positioned in view of the foot of Kellerman's bed, where we see Joker slowly creep across the sheets. Beyond his supernatural origins and abilities, the most notable aspect of Tapes' Joker is his role in Batman's decay. As in the comics, he is responsible for both shooting Barbara Gordon and murdering Jason Todd, which leads to them becoming Oracle and Red Hood respectively. These events and the murder of Kellerman weigh heavily upon Batman, and he starts to consider more drastic means of combating Gotham's supervillains. But the straw that breaks the Bat's back isn't Bane, but Joker's takeover of Arkham Asylum, which forced Batman to battle through a gauntlet of his foes. This is an adaptation of the iconic story Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth by Grant Morrison, where the inmates of Arkham take over the facility and Batman fights through them whilst learning about the asylum's dark past. Desperate to make sure no one else gets hurt, Batman starts adapting his villain's various abilities for his own purposes, which ultimately turns him into a monster no different from his enemies. The thing I find most interesting about this Joker is his role in the creations of the Mad Hatter and the Creeper. In the Tapes universe, Jervis Tetch was the host of Mr. Tetch is Here to Tell, a children's storytime TV show, which did an episode on the Pale Man in 1990. Tetch reads a nursery rhyme about the entity, which gives us some insight into how Tapes' Joker might function. The first verse goes, "In Gotham's heart where shadows creep, the Pale Man stirs from restless sleep." This lines up with the idea that Joker only appears during times of chaos before disappearing. Gotham's heart may even refer to Miyagani Island, and lines like, "He whispers tales of darkness told," seem to support the idea that the Joker is a harbinger of tragedy. Other lines allude to a separate theory that the Joker possesses people throughout history. "He seeks a soul on Gotham's ground" could reference him seeking a vessel, and "he slips inside through cracks unseen" could be interpreted as Joker taking control of those whose minds are fractured or cracked. As the show goes on, Jervis's voice becomes more distorted and we get glimpses of the real Mr. Tetch, whose face is either covered in paint or blood. A few months after the episode aired, Jervis bombed Gotham City Hall as the Mad Hatter. As for the Creeper, he was Jack Ryder, an investigative journalist looking into the Joker. Ryder wanted to be the first to crack the story and interviewed several people connected to the entity, including Kellerman's wife and Arkham Dr. Harleen Quinzel. When Jack and Joker finally meet, the villain injects the reporter with a variety of serums and toxins in an attempt to twist Ryder into a being like himself. This is a direct lift from the new Batman Adventures, where Joker creates the Creeper after exposing Jack to laughing gas, then throwing him into the vat of chemicals that made him. Personally, I wonder if part of the Joker's motive for doing this in the Tapes universe was so he could have a Robin equivalent in his battle against Batman. However, things don't exactly pan out. Whilst Jack's psyche was annihilated and his appearance warped to resemble the Joker's, the Creeper was anything but loyal. On the contrary, he was now little more than a manic beast with only one directive: the destruction of his creator. The episode ends with the Creeper confronting an associate of the Joker and monologuing about how he's become something better, how the Joker has revealed who he truly is, and how he's going to kill him. Overall, Tapes' Joker isn't a traditional comic book supervillain. He's an inhuman monster, the kind of entity you'd find in Creepypasta or the SCP Foundation, which makes sense as both have been cited by Batfeed as inspirations for the Arkham Tapes. Within the series, the Joker isn't just a chaotic madman, he is chaos incarnate, a random, sadistic, immortal spectre that haunts Gotham, who pushes its citizens beyond their limits and turns them into monsters. I'm curious to see what happens with him next. With Jim Gordon, Red Hood, and Oracle now all part of the MOPA, an agency created to observe and combat Gotham's rogues, and with the Creeper and the Batman on the loose, the Joker is accumulating quite the list of enemies. I wonder if it's only a matter of time before he utters his final punchline. In conclusion, Batfeed's Jokers are wildly different from one another, from an enigmatic clown to an illegitimate heir to an immortal embodiment of evil and chaos. They're all reflections of the tone and style of their respective series, and yet they also have much in common with not just each other, but other versions of the character. An obsession with Batman, a desire for chaos, a random approach to crime that makes them difficult to predict, a deceptive and cunning nature, and a complete disregard for human life. It's a testament to the flexibility and range of the Joker that he can be depicted in such vastly different ways, and they all still feel like the same character. On to you, folks. What do you think of these versions of the Joker? Which is your favorite? And do you want to see me do more videos analyzing the Batfeed's interpretations of other Batman villains? Leave your answers in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the show and want to see more, like, subscribe, share, and do all the other YouTube things, and tune in next time for whatever out of the hat discussion I have next.